Hey, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, it was a fun thing that happened a couple years ago. I guess it was like 3 years ago now, when all the nerds of the world united and decided they were going to save their beloved Gamestop. And how are they going to do that? Well, these little guys, one by one, would just start throwing their money at it. And while one or two little nerds sitting in their basement eating flaming hot Cheetos is not going to take down the world's biggest billionaire hedge funds, if thousands of nerds banded together and they all made little purchases, 1,000 paper cuts, they could take down the big giant billionaires that were shorting their beloved GameStop. And I don't know if this was more about loving GameStop or hating billionaire hedge funds that were driving weak companies into the dirt and profiting off of it. Doesn't matter. Billions were lost by the rich guys. The little guys got a small little taste of victory. And a lot of them lost tons of money in the process. It's very valuable to them, more so than it is these hedge fund guys. But it was an amazing sort of David versus Goliath moment in the stock market. And there's a chance they may be back. Spencer McGowan, certified financial planner and host of Net Worth Radio here on WBAP on Saturdays, is with us. Is the GameStop craze back?
Well, for the last 2 days, GameStop's up 182% and AMC's up 136%. Mr. Roaring Kitty Keith Gill, all he did was post some cryptic, ex-Twitter posts of just movie clips. I mean, he didn't say anything, right? All he had to do was just tell him the game is on again. Hedge funds have lost about $2 billion in 2 days on their short positions.
Well, Roaring Kitty is the guy who kicked off or was one of the figureheads the first time around. What's he been doing since then? Do we even know?
He went radio silent after he went in front of Congress and he kind of got a spanking there. And he said, I just like the stock. So he's been radio silent for 3 years.
Interesting. Is there a motivation we know of for the return?
There was some suspicious call buying in late April in GameStop. I don't know about AMC, but we would assume similar. The call buying, you're betting that the stock's going to go way up if you're just buying naked calls up there. And apparently that started late April, and he may have a design here based upon the short interest in these two companies. I mean, GameStop's based in Grapevine, and they're really good at losing money. And so, anyway,
don't tell me about GameStop, sir. They've gotten thousands of my dollars over the years between myself and my kiddos. GameStop's made plenty of money off of me.
Well, they haven't managed to make money as a company overall, since 2021 or 2020. Actually.
Yeah, see, they're facing the same thing that the theaters are facing. There's just a natural decline for hard versions of video games now that you can stream so much, or you can just download a video game. You don't have to go buy a physical copy like you don't have to go buy a physical copy of a movie anymore. And so I think they've really just been held up by the resale thing that they got going, because if you want discount components, that's where you can go. Or if you want to sell your old systems, that's where you go. But that's not enough to keep the model going. And it's the same thing with AMC. The decline in movie theaters is something that AMC didn't do anything wrong necessarily. They're just in a contracting industry.
Well, in this case, if the valuation of the companies doesn't make sense, especially after these gains right here.
Absolutely agreed.
But they love ripping the faces off of rich hedge fund managers, and they've had a good couple of days, and all he did was post some movie clips, right? He posts 12 different clips with some high quality, by the way, movie clips, and they all think the game is back on. And whoever bought those calls in late April on GameStop is doing extraordinarily well right now.
Is there any way we can know about these ahead of time instead of finding out after everyone's already made their money?
Well, in the case of, this was a rigged game, and he may have to go testify in front of Congress again. The call activity, unusual option activity, is one source of research. It's called a gamma squeeze, and it would take too long to explain, but let's say when you have unusual call activity, it's an indication that something is up.
The old gamma squeeze. I think that came up in the Stormy Daniels case last week, too. It was, All right, Spencer McGowan, what's going on your show on the weekends, Net Worth Radio?
Well, we're going to spend some time with Roaring Kitty. I have an expert in social media researching it right now. The building in Fort Worth, that declined from nearly 200 million to 12 million.
Oh, the tallest building in Fort Worth recently got sold for like 1/10 its original price. I saw that.
Exactly. And then we'll cover the story of Fisker EVs and the ill-fated bankruptcy of Fisker.
They're all ill-fated. There hadn't been a roaring success in the EV world yet. And also, look, I don't mean to put more on your plate here, but this morning, your president signed an increase in all kinds of tariffs for electric vehicles, for semiconductors, steel, aluminum, which isn't a bad thing if you don't use any of those products. It's not going to affect you.
I heard you on the way back to the studio here. I heard you covering that. I like your take on it. And by the way, $7.5 billion on EV chargers, and only 7 of them installed so far. That's just $1 billion each.
That doesn't seem like the most efficient use of our scarce resources, Spencer.
Maybe someday sanity can return.
All right, Spencer McGowan. You can hear him on Net Worth Radio, 4 p.m. on WBAP this weekend. Find him online if you need some financial planning. This is your guy, Spencer McGowan. Thanks again.
Thank you, James.
All right, stay with us. Coming up next, we're going to talk to author, political strategist, and author of Raven's Mantle, Raven Harrison. Coming up next, talk about what's going on with the Trump trials and these curious polls that show Trump is leading in the 5 big swing states. That's next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.